Got that comeback flow, call me George Clooney. I'm not crazy but known to get a little loony. Smarter than I look, laugh at those who tried to fool me. I'm in my own lane so I can only outdo me. I've done what only most could dream to do, and the plans that I develop make sure that I see through. I'm not a sellout like Obama and his bailout. The government cowards just looking for a way out, trying to pay their debt off.
All right, so being a parent myself, I've come to a certain understanding of the exchange between parents and children. They are here to change this world, and we are here to help navigate them to how the world is before they got here. You know, we have very different ways that we could change the world that we're bringing them into, but so far we just play the guardians for the ones who are actually here to cause that change. And there's no greater change that a child causes within a parent than, I say, the self-reflection of ego. When you learn that as a parent, it's more important to understand than to be right. I'm gonna go from there. So, being that I am the product and the possible solution to any future issues that they may face, I have to always do constant self-reflection. And I think that any parent worth their salt does shadow work, looking into the deepest depths of your psyche to see things that didn't serve you, that was implemented by your parents due to survival tactics that only they knew at that time. Doesn't mean that they're imperfect, doesn't mean that they made a big mistake. They did the best hand with what they were dealt. You know what I'm saying? So you always want to start at looking at these individuals known as our parents as just as human as we are. And in that, I'm going to get into this. So the other day, my brother, he contacts me. He says, our dad wants you to call him. And I said, oh, that's crazy. So our dad wants you to call him? He said, no, he wants you to call him. I said, you? He said, no, you. That's why I said you. So we do this little exchange. And the big thing is that I may not be on really great terms with, you know what I'm saying, the male side of my parental structure. I might not be on great terms with him because I feel like in some ways there were aspects of him where he dropped the ball, you know, and stuff. And I put it like this. It's easy to say children didn't decide to be here. I don't like feeling like anything is left to chance or suggestion. I like to feel like I took a role in any part that I played in just life in general. So I feel like we did choose to be here. I feel like that, speaking from being the child of two different people, I feel like we did choose to be here. I feel like we chose them because they encompassed all of the lessons, or they were the best for us. They were the best beings to choose for the lesson that we needed to learn in this life at this time. So I don't necessarily really look at either my mother or my father as being imperfect, messed up, or that they made mistakes in, you know, parental, you know, parenthood. I don't see them as things like that. I see it as you are just as human as I am. So being a parent myself at this time has helped me come to the understanding that there was no structure set up for them. There was no rule book. There was no videos. We didn't have vlogging back then. Well, they didn't have vlogging back then. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they really could have went off of anybody else's way of doing it, except for the ones that got them to that age to where, you know, they were grown enough to become parents or do what was necessary, you know, to be parents. And as I, you know, told my brother, I said, you know, there's a lot of things about that man that I'm not very fond of. And it's, you know, it's no secret if anybody personally knows me. I feel like sometimes as parents, we use aggression and an over sternness to things that we don't have to. It becomes overkill. Now, I can tell my kids that if they don't do yada, 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 I whoop your ass. However, for me, an ass whooping is like at the bottom of the total pole, like for as far as parenting goes, because structurally, and as I've gotten older, I realized that the things that would have worked for me was never implemented on me. So I start implementing them with my kids and see the effectivity of how effective they are, you know, for my babies, you know. So I get to a point where it's just like, I don't ask for perfection. I don't ask for anyone to go above and beyond what they feel they can and should do as far as whatever role is they want to play in my life. I ask that they stand on what they say and they stand behind what they feel, and they give me enough respect to be able to exert that or communicate that to me to where we both could gain that same understanding. So I don't, like I said, I have no hatred, in my heart for no one. I just felt like that as being the child, there was a lot of aggression used where it didn't have to be. You have a humble child. When you have humble children, you don't use aggression the same way you would with a child that's just being over the top. You know what I'm saying? You have to meet them at their level. When it comes to kids, you have to touch their hearts. I've only ever learned that from being a child, B, being a fucking parent, you know what I'm saying? And C, learning that there's a group and a team effort in doing both when it comes to the family unit. The parents and the children. There's a whole team effort when it comes to that. It doesn't just happen just out of nowhere. You build that structure as the parent, and so that the way your family goes from that point will acquiesce to the structure that you help implement and put in place, so that there is no confusion, that there is only understanding. And as the child of a being that I feel didn't use all the avenues of understanding he could have, I feel like it's very difficult to discuss anything with that individual, considering the circumstance that it's always been about, you're my child, you're my child, you're my child. A lot of beings that were here before me, and this is the way you communicate with the ones that come after you that gets better results. Granted, you lived through things here and you didn't like what you had to live through, so that molded you into this person, but that being that you made after you were here doesn't know those things. So I think that as being a parent, guardian, whatever role you chose to play in the lives of, upbringing anybody or rearing any child, you have to realize that only you are familiar with this territory. We're asking you to help navigate us in this territory, so if we do want to make a change or bring upon a change on this planet, we would know what will work, this way, or what won't work. We will know how to navigate going this way, if that will work. And we'll know that if this is the right journey, if this is the right path, this is the only thing that must work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you teach children these things through habitual learning. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in life, human, adult, child, nobody ever gets anything the same way when they hear it. There's usually a compilation of experiences, life experiences, that allow you to even connect on most of the conversations you're having with anybody you're having conversations with. So if you're a parent, you're not helping your child learn how to look at things versus just what to think for that moment. You're not going to help them get anywhere. The critical thought aspect in being a human being is what shapes, how we choose to grow or learn from our experiences. If we're not putting a critical thought into the things that we are experiencing, how do we know what we want to take from that experience? If we don't know who or the role we're supposed to play or how we're supposed to play our roles in these individual experiences. And, I tell my brother, I have absolutely no hatred for this man. But there's a lot of things about being a dad that I feel like by me being one myself, he definitely could have done. And I feel like if you're trying to reconnect or spark a conversation with your child, you have to get to know that child. So I'm not sure if I really will speak to him. I know eventually he's going to be coming to it, but you know what I'm saying? It's people would tell you that you have to be the bigger person in the situation. Well, if I was a child, the biggest person in this situation would have been the parent. Why weren't they? Why is it that when I wanted that conversation, that guidance, and everything like that. Did I not receive it? You know what I'm saying? So I believe that goes both ways. You know, I'm not a pity party, as I'm nothing more than a success story. You know what I'm saying? I keep on elevating. I keep making sure that the avenues of myself, the things that I combat with my own inner being and my ego, and things that I need to learn to be able to help shape me for who I want to be for my kids. I think that's more important. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I've come this far because I've maintained the mindset not to be drowned in self-pity. Like I said, I'm nothing more than a success story. And when it comes down to being a man that came from an unfavorable background as far as certain parents, that parent or this parent, whatever the case may be, you have to be able to know what merits you have, what got you through these moments, because that's what the most important things are. In regards to, I would say, my mother, she's always been extremely supportive, and I think that boys definitely need that. They need a female motherly figure in their lives that just has their back, loves them, supports their ventures, their hopes, their dreams, their greatest ambitions. Our parents really do shape us. Like those interpersonal connections with, you know what I'm saying, your mother and your father is very reflective upon you in your later years. I think that it doesn't become so, that depending on your upbringing, it's not too influential to where you don't know how to approach these conversations with those people. You know, I feel like if you've implemented the mentality in me to speak, act, or think a certain way, if there's going to be anybody I'm going to address about how I'm going to clear out that those regressed energies that you yourself didn't know how to deal with, if there's going to be anybody I'm going to speak to, it's going to be you, because that's where it started at. I mean, in some cases you don't need to, but I feel like it also helps that person address where they may have stumbled at in their parenting or in their growth. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't expect too much from people that I feel like are well and able-bodied enough to know for themselves things that I don't have to speak on. You know?
Close curtains, whistle.
Would've thought I'd be caught in this life. Let's celebrate with a toast. Get lost in tonight and make it all light up.
Follow me.